If you're a real estate wholesaler, you have to know how to analyze properties correctly, because you can generate leads. You can have amazing conversation with property owners. But if you don't know how to analyze a property correctly, you're going to make the wrong offers. You're going to miss out on opportunities, and you're going to just completely botch everything. So in this video, I'm going to peel back the curtain, and you're going to watch me on my computer screen go through an actual property analysis, and I'll share with you everything I do and how you can do that with a simple tool such as Zillow, which is completely free. You don't need any paid tools to do this. So let's get right down to it. So generally, when you do this, you're going to get typically the Zillow listing here, and then you're going to get this listing, which is the Google Maps. So I'm going to go ahead and open that in a new window. And one of the first things I look at, especially when we're dealing with smaller markets, is I want to know, this is the property here. It's in Duncan, Oklahoma. And so then I'm going to zoom out, and I want to know, where is this property relative to, is it in the middle of nowhere, or is it nearby other areas? So when I look at this deal here in Duncan, I see that it's located near Oklahoma City. So usually what I do is I'll do a quick search to see what the distance is. So that is 1 hour and 24 minutes. So it's pretty long distance to Oklahoma City. So generally, I want that distance to be 30 minutes. If I'm going to consider that I'm going to put this property in the contract and then use it and tap into investors from that Oklahoma City area, here it's too far. Somebody in Oklahoma that's an experienced investor, they're not going to want to go 1.5 hours in order to buy property and rehab it. So now that means that then I have to consider, with this particular property, other options. And where are these buyers going to come from? Where is the rest of the activity? So here, I don't know this area. So I need to determine, is this a viable area? So I'm going to go back here into my search, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the Zillow listing. So I want to know how much activity is in Zillow. So I'm going to go ahead and take the address, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it back into here. So then now it's going to give me, and the reason I'm doing this is because what I want to do is I want to go and click outside here and then be able to zoom out. And then now it's the map is located in exactly the area where the property is located. If I didn't do that, then I have to look at this map, see, okay, this property is here, this is this crossroad, and then I have to manage the map. Whereas here, this is where the property is located. Again, if I look at here, Fig Avenue, Hackberry. So Hackberry, Fig Avenue, this is the area of the property. So now I'm going to zoom out, and I see that there's quite a bit of activity here, actives. So then now how to determine if this is a good market or a bad market. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to remove the boundary. I don't need that anymore because I'm just zooming in, and I'm going to zoom out, and I notice that there's a lot of activity here in Lawton, right? So if I go into Lawton, let me look at here. This is in Oklahoma, so I just zoomed in just to make sure that it's in the same state, because sometimes you have a situation like this where you don't really realize that there's a state boundary here, so that means that now this is a completely different state. But it's the same state. So then now, again, this is Lawton. So I'm going to go back to my map here. I'm going to do directions to Lawton, Oklahoma. And now that's a 39-minute drive. So if anything, I can grab buyers from Lawton because that's closer. And then I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, let me come back here. This is Duncan. And then we have this other area here, which is smaller. So even though it's a rural area, there's still quite a bit of activity within these other areas here. So that's not bad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. These are the actives. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and come here. And whenever I'm using Zillow, I'm always resetting the filters, because if you're doing multiple searches, you got to keep in mind is that you may have done a search, tweak things a little bit within Zillow, and then you forget, and then now you're running in another area, but now you have these saved parameters, which are going to throw everything off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, and if you notice, there's 85 properties available for sale by agent. So if I toggle this, it gives me 130. So 130 is the actual total inventory in the market. And then 85 is active because the rest of them are pending. So if I take my calculator and I calculate 85 divided by 130, I do that right? It's 130 minus 85. So I have 45 pending sales. So 45 divided by 130 is 34%. So 34% of the inventory is pending. So to me, that's good. The threshold for me would be about 30%. So if we looked at this same number and I toggled this, and by agent was 85, but when I toggled the pending, it only showed 90. That means that only 5 properties are pending out of the total amount of inventory, which means that that's a really slow market. So that's not a good thing. We wouldn't want that. So this here shows activity. The next thing I'm going to do is, if I look at the subject property in this scenario, I also have to know, okay, what is the subject property? If I come here and, this is a small little house. It's not going to be terribly expensive. Let me just see what they were asking. They're asking, their owner asking price was $35,000 on this deal. So then the other thing I'm going to do is, to make sure that I'm looking at things correctly, is I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the year built. Because sometimes in these markets, especially, in these smaller markets, sometimes you have new builds. So you have new inventory houses that are they're just being built right now. And so that's going to throw off your analysis of the market, because now the actives and the pendings are going to be skewed by that new inventory. So I'm going to put year built max. I'm going to put nothing. We're in 2023, so I would say 2000, right? So I'm going to hit apply, go back, 85, pending on the review, 130. Nothing's really changed. But again, I want to make sure that I'm looking at older inventory, not newer inventory. So then now here, this is a viable market, right? So far, it looks like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and look at this particular property. And what I'm looking for is this property, they're asking $35,000. And so what I want to know is, as a wholesaler, if the owner's asking 35, let's say I can pick it up. Let's just say that's a bottom line price, 35,000. So with 35,000, my analysis is, if I pick it up at 35, I mean, what is the property worth? But if I want to make 10 or 15,000, that means that 35 plus 15 is 50. That means that I have to sell it for 50, and there has to be an upside for somebody. But one of the things that I can do is look at what is the available inventory in this market. So what I can do is I can say, I want to know price point. Because if I take, and let's say this particular market, I want to know how much of the inventory in this market is over 200 grand, right? So if I go here, there's not that much inventory over 200 grand up in this part of town. So what I'm assuming is that there's certain areas of town that are better than others. So here you can see that this area here is probably the nicer area of town. You can see by these houses. See that? See these houses here? So this lets me know automatically, oh, this is the good area. Look at that house. Nice house. Now, I just saw this. So what I could do is make a small adjustment, a small tweak here. Because here, and I'm doing this on the fly with you, I looked at this and said 85 and pending. However, now that I see that, I have to say, well, gee, I wonder what the market turnover is in our price point. So then knowing that if a property is worth, if the owner's asking 35, that property isn't really a property where you're going to have a buyer that can purchase a property with good credit and is going to live at the property, they're not going to consider that property. That property is really more of a rental grade property. An investor is going to buy it and put a tenant inside. So then I have to do my analysis a little bit better. So let's say, as an example, if I do 200,000 and no max, now that changes the inventory, because now the inventory is 32 and pending is 46. So 46 minus 32 is 14. 14 divided by 46. So 30% of the market is active on the high end. But now let's do the opposite of that. Let's say from zero, no more than 200,000. And that's being, and I'm going to hit apply. Now I toggle and I go back. There's a total of 84 actives and 20 and 53 pending. 84 minus 53. 84 minus 53 is the total of, is that right? There's a total of 84 total properties. 53 is active. 53 minus 84 is 31. 31 divided by the total inventory, which is 84, is 36. So 36%. So actually the lower end of the market is moving faster than the higher end. We can take this further down and say, I'm going to do 125,000 at the most. And how is that market? So here, a decrease in inventory, and then I can look at this and say 60, 39. So what is that? 39 minus 60 is 21. So 21 divided by 60 is 35%. And then now here's another thing to consider. All these are checked. So then I look at and say, okay, well, this is a house. This is not a manufactured home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle everything off. So then now you can see that when I do that, I'm losing inventory, because part of this inventory here is, for example, there's no manufactured homes, apartments, vacant land. There's vacant land. So what I got to do is then say, okay, let's just look at houses. So now when I look at this, and let's just do 150. Now I'm looking at the market only for my type of property that I'm evaluating. So now when I go here, I see that there's 31 and pending is 52. So 52, 31 minus 52 is 21. 21 divided by 52, 40%. So that means 40% of the inventory is turning over. There's 40% of the total amount of inventory is on the contract. So that's actually good. So what I find with this market here is that the lower end stuff is pretty active. Now, the next thing I got to do is I got to say, well, what's competition, right? Because if you're a wholesaler and you get this property for $35,000 and then now you want to sell it to somebody else, and you're going to try to make, say, $10,000 on this deal, $45K, so you're going to list it for $50, then what else is available at that price point? So now I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to go here to, say, $65,000 or $75,000. What's available here in this market? So now, I have to go back to my map and just make sure that I'm looking at things accurately. I'm between Fig and Hackberry. So let's see here. There goes Hackberry, and there goes here. So let's look at this. What's available now? Our house here, and let me go back to the original Zillow. This house here is 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1170 square feet. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1170 square feet. This one is 21764. They're asking 42. This one's 60. It's a smaller house. These are smaller house. This is a 2-1 asking 1100 square feet. This is 54. So what I can do is mine's a 3 bedroom. So I'm going to go 3 bedrooms. I'm going to see what available inventory. So somebody could buy this 3 bedroom. It is a smaller house. Let's see here. It's okay. It's rental grade inventory. This is 75. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square feet. Let's see what this, what the situation. And normally what I'll do is I'll read this here and see if there's anything here that would give me other information. At a glance, it didn't. This is a 3-1, 1,048 square feet. Now, you know, the issue is with this one here, I believe it's that property there. It's a tiny little frame house. So you also have to consider, I don't know which one it is. So it either has to be this one or it has to be this one. Either way, they're both crappy, right? Because they're just like frame houses. So let's say if we were to look at what's available, this is a much better house for $65,000, 1,048 square feet. Yeah, ours is a little bit bigger, but this is a brick house. This is a solid house. So what does this mean? That means that, okay, if a buyer buys my deal, you know, let's say I'm going to make 10, so buys it at 45, and let's say my house needs work, they have to add another 10K, you know, into it just to get it rent ready, plus to have the closing costs and everything else. That's 45 plus 10, 55, another 5, that's 60. They're already at this price at 60, and this is a much better deal. They're better off buying this deal, which is a solid brick house. Here is the one that I looked at. Let's see what else is available. That one, this one here. This one doesn't do well for us. This is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,600 square feet, brick house. Yeah, so this is a good property. That one is good. So somebody would buy this one for $28K versus our crappy frame house. And let's see if I toggle. I had this already toggled. So now let's look at solds. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle here to solds. And when I do this, I will change this to be sold in the last 6 months. Sometimes I put better 90 days, but 6 months. It's a smaller market. So then I'm looking at here what's sold. This one's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. This one sold for 68. Much better curb appeal than ours. So this one here, look at that one. That one has a nice curb appeal. 55. This is a brick house, 3-1. So our competition. So if you notice, okay. So here's kind of what I'm going to gather from here. 35K is too much for this property, because in order for us to mark it up and sell it to another investor, there's the properties that look like they're selling in the 60K price point. Those properties are just much better. Like they're getting 3-1s, 3-2s, brick, not the crappy frame house that this particular person has. So, in my opinion, let's go ahead and then toggle back here for sale. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put any, and I'm going to go really down on price and say what's available for $40,000. So this one's available as a 3-1, 1,100 square feet for $39,000. So why would they buy mine? Why would they buy mine for? Let me just make sure that I don't have pending. So this is not that far from the subject property. So why would they buy mine when they can buy this on the open market? That's a 3-1, 1,126 square feet. This is a much better deal. Recently painted, some carpeting. So this is ready for a tenant. All right, this one here is a 1-1 frame house. That's not that great of a deal. This one here is a 3-1, 1,600 square feet. It's a brick house. It looks like crap, but it's a brick house, so that's going to be better, right? This one's going to need everything. But still, if somebody bought this house, got it rent ready, and put in 20 grand into it, they'll still be better off than buying mine if I were to buy it at the price that the seller is asking, which is $35,000. So based on this information, and let's look at this one here. This is a 840 square feet. It's a small house, but they're asking 29, and they reduced it. So the other thing to look at when you're looking at this is how long they've been on the market. So if this is on the market for 9 days. This one here is on the market for 25 days. So, and I'm also looking at the saves, how many saves. And the saves are relative to every market. Meaning if you look at, like here, 18 saves, not that many saves. So that means that there's lack of interest. Here, how many saves? Saves is 22 saves. And it's been 9 days on the market. So to me, I look at this deal that the owner's asking $35K, and I'm saying this is no way going to be a $35K deal. And this deal would have to be, in order for me to offer that particular property to the market and have any chance, it has to be lower than this 28, because otherwise they would buy this potentially. So my offer on this deal would probably be $15,000 in order to try, and even then might be pushing it. It depends on whether or not it's this little crappy house, and I can just kind of go around here and see if I could spot anything. I can't really because it's being obstructed by the tree. Sometimes if you move around like this is the house there. It's okay. I also look around and see what else is there. I mean, all these houses are little frame houses. I mean, that one's a halfway decent house, but so it doesn't look like a terrible area, but it's just, whichever one it is, it's not going to be that great. So in this scenario, I'm thinking it's going to be a 20, I probably would offer 12K, 15K on this deal. And even then it's stretching it, because then I have to price it at 25, and this is the competition, which, we're better off than the 39, but my area concern is probably this one. They would probably buy this one versus mine. So when you're looking, and this is below the highway. So typically, I'm not going to look at this because this is below the highway here. So got to keep in mind is this. When you're looking at comps and you're looking at any sort of system like a prop stream, you can't really just analyze a property just by looking at that. You have to look at all these things put together in order to kind of have an idea of what the value is. And most importantly, when all said and done, you got to offer a better deal to an investor than they would have otherwise gotten if they just went straight on the MLS or on Zillow and hunted for a deal. Yours has to be better. And so when I look at this information, the market is viable. There's activity. It's nearby some of these other areas, but this property here, it doesn't have great curb appeal, and it needs to be at a much lower price in order for it to be an amazing deal that somebody would say, oh, I'll take that deal. And that's pretty much it.